This is Fan Like the Ghost, and we're live on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter channels with Rara Blue. And we have a really cool episode today. She got her brand new album, and we're going to talk about that. But first of all, we wanted to mention that we're on Newsly, which is another podcast app, and so this podcast will be translated from video to audio on Newsly. So you should check that out. If you use coupon code goes 21, get 1 month free premium subscription, so you can stop scrolling and start listening, and everybody can check that out after. And we have your hyper follow, so everybody can find out everything about Rara Blue on that hyper follow link and the new album. We're going to get into it today. And Watercolored Dreamz, that's the album, and we're going to ask you like as much as we can about it. We do have a video that we have queued up, so I think I might go to the video first, and then we'll start asking you about all the questions we want to get into. But thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to share these stories with you.
So I think cool. So I'm going to cue this up, and once it's queued up, I think I'll put you on mute, and then we'll come back, and then we'll talk about the album. So this is the song that we have, Sunbeamz, is the official video, and we're going to run this, and then we'll talk to you. So let's get this going. Let me put you on mute, and then we'll talk. Okay. So that was and we're back with Rara Blue. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. So yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm. First of all, like I'm so grateful to the beautiful Pascaline, who was the girl in the video, and also Emma Guizot, who directed and filmed it. And I really like felt how Emma was able to capture the emotion of the song for me so well
Hmm.
in her own kind of way of describing it. But I really enjoyed how she um, kind of not even we didn't meet in person to talk about the plans of this video. We did it over internet, but
Oh wow,
still she was able to understand me so well and put my feelings into this video. Uh, so I'm
that's
really happy
awesome.
with. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you got it so hard. Like during COVID, a lot of times you're not able to do what previously like artists could like meet and physically be on set, and a lot of things are done remote. And for it to still come out the way you wanted it, or even better than
yes,
maybe you anticipated, that's really cool. I think that's a good
yeah.
feeling to
Mhm.
have that happen.
That's truly, I
So,
feel like,
mhm,
amazing skill to have in a way because first thing the I feel like COVID gave us this magical opportunity to work so with everybody, but at the same time it's not for everybody to be able to understand each other's work to actually communicate well enough to make it work. So that's really wonderful that this kind of worked out for us.
yeah, it's a whole nother skill set because you have to like I know this album was like it had a journey through a lot of emotions and there's a lot of personal uh story in this album that at least the personal things happen to you and you put it into the
Mm,
music. And then like COVID's happening, which affects everybody. And then to
yeah.
still be able to move forward. And it's really like I think a testimony to like the human spirit to be able to find a
Mhm.
way no matter what and to be artists. And we you know we had to work one way before COVID. Now we have COVID and post COVID, whatever. We've learned new ways to do art. We've learned new ways to how
Mhm.
to connect. And I think it's real important for people to like keep on pushing and not say, "Well, I can't do anything." The fact that you can be found a way, I think that's super positive. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I actually believe that this same song is kind of this. I when I wrote it, I really felt like I was in a starting point of really having to look into myself and
Mhm.
start to work on all the things that I set obstacles like for myself. I don't know if it makes sense, but I feel
Mhm.
like it's also the quarantine time that made a lot of the people kind of look into themselves. So I find it kind of relatable in many different ways.
Yeah, I think it is very much. I mean, I've doubled down, in this whole time period into podcasting, which has allowed me to instead of touring is how I used to meet people. And then I would
Yeah,
get my connections from touring. And then because of the podcasting, I've been able to get other connections and work with people in the same way that you're describing. You did a video and you never met. And I've
yeah,
been able to work on projects like that like continually. I do it like all the time. I'm doing it right now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and I think the whole you're saying that this song Sunbeamz was this like the first song of in this project or is it one of the um primary songs for the Watercolor Dreams?
It's in a way it was the first song where I felt like okay, new album is coming. But actually, one song, never mind. The
Mhm.
lyrics for that song I wrote a long time ago when I was still
Oh,
doing like a pop rock band thing.
oh
And
wow.
in yeah, so it was completely different song, but these words somehow came back to me while I was writing
Mhm.
this album. So I produced a new beat and then the same song kind of came into my head. And so I really felt like because it was also resonating with the time that I was in, uh, I felt like it needs to be in the storyline. Uh,
That- Does that happen to
because,
you where you sometimes go back to like things that you like every artist has like their I don't know, they used to vault, like Prince used to have a vault, and
Yeah.
he had all these things, right? And sometimes he'd bring it back, right?
Hmm.
And people would like I found out like the song from the Sign of the Times, um,
Yeah.
uh, it was he actually wrote in '79. And Sign of the
Yeah.
Times came out like '86 or something, like 80 around that time. So he had the song sitting around. It was like
Hmm.
6 years old, and then he brought it back, and so it's like it seems like some artists will go back and say, "Hey, I can approach this thing differently now. I
Hmm.
like it, but I'm gonna change it." But it's like, do you find that you do that, or that's like a rare thing that you do?
No, I usually definitely don't do that. I feel like I get really inspired and then I need to go and express it really fast or like write it down, do new things. So I never feel like I'm out of ideas,
Mhm.
and that's a blessing, I guess. But it's more like this song kind of popped back into my head.
Came
It
back
wasn't
in.
like I was searching for it, but it
Yeah,
felt
it fit.
like right
Fit
for the time.
Yeah, it fit
Yeah,
where you were. Yeah, I guess sometimes you have something and it's like it fits where you are. So
yeah.
I think you were saying this album, like in the write up that I have, is like it's a journey of alternative electronic pop soundscapes. And I've really always been into the idea of soundscapes, and
Yeah.
you had a lot of emotion in terms of you were moving to another country, you lost a close friend and a
Mhm.
family member, and not being able to be there and having a breakup all in 1 year. So there's a lot that went on, and so maybe we can
Yeah.
kind of talk about the songs in the context of what I just said. So,
Yeah.
is there
I
are there particular songs that you want to point out that
yeah.
are part of that process?
This song called Demons, it's the second song of the album.
Hmm.
Uh, this song kind of came to me after I found out that my friend died, that was my age.
Hmm.
And it's really um, difficult to kind of process these things in a way that um, when you, especially when you go to another country, you never feel like, did I do enough? Like, was I there enough? Should
Yeah,
have I understood the signs where it went wrong? Or
yeah, it's
yeah,
emotional.
there's
It's still
that's
emotional for you. Yeah,
it's really. But I feel like it's something that I really wanted to say to people, because you never know when you see the people last time. And it's not only about passing away or something, it's
mhm,
also about just caring for each other and always being like there with each other. I feel like, for example, social media also cuts us off when we spend time with our friends and we're on our phones all the time, which I'm also very guilty of. I am
yeah,
so addicted.
yeah,
But you never know. Maybe your friend moves away the next day. Maybe something other happens. So I really like wanted to put this song out to call the people to live kind of in the moment and spend time with the people that they love, be-
yeah. It's
because I
very
find it really
yeah.
important and also a reminder for myself.
Yeah, I know because like a lot of life is like if you get put into a situation where you can't get to somebody, then you really appreciate, and then you might not have told them like what you feel. And I think a lot of times, like I had some moments in my life where I had significant things happen, kind of went through a crucible, and then I decided I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm gonna tell people
Mhm.
even if they don't like it. I'm gonna tell them kind of like that what I feel and not hide it, because you never know, like if you're ever gonna see them again, like you said, like why not take the risk? It might hurt me, it might not make them feel comfortable, but maybe I at least tell people where my head's
Yeah,
at.
I also felt for a very long time I felt like avoiding confrontation was like love for me in a way, because I was like, okay, I love them so much that I will let this pass. But
Mhm.
as I got older, I kind of realized that also confrontation can be love, in a way that
Yeah. Well,
you
connection. Yeah.
yeah, you let them treat you right as well, because that's what people who love you do. So
Yeah,
it's
well, you're not always gonna have agreement, just to avoid argument, then you don't actually let things, it kind of evolve because you're scared to let it evolve. It's important to kind of have that communication. And I think, music is a good way. Sometimes, like I find as a songwriter, I don't know if you do, that you can say something in a song that you had a hard time actually telling somebody. So do you like to put in your songs something that maybe you wouldn't actually say to somebody directly?
I feel like I try to be as 100% as I can all the time. So in a
Mhm.
way, I sometimes feel like I am too direct even. So in I don't think that these aren't the things that I wouldn't say, but a lot of those are afterthoughts. Like for
Mhm.
example, again the song "Nevermind," it kind of
Mm.
starts as a phone call, like
Yeah.
to my ex, and to talk about, and then reminiscent of the times that we had together. But
Mhm.
then kind of as you go through the process of remembering these things, you realize how much you have grown and also how you see things differently now. And then at the end is the release, kind of ending the phone call with never mind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
let
kinda
go.
ironic. It's kinda ironic, it's like it has a little bit of a catch to it,
Yeah.
It's like a writing technique to kinda catch people like, "Oh," "that's interesting." And it's I think I like the style of that kinda, a lot of times the people don't, they listen to so many songs today that are bangers, and they're just
Mhm.
like beats, and you're writing songs that have, like, depth and meaning, which is something different in our time. It's not that what is usually being done.
Mhm.
But one of the things I wanted to ask, probably foundational to the project, like how did you come up with the title of Watercolored Dreams? Like what does
Yes.
that mean to you?
um I really love painting myself, and
Mhm.
also all sorts of art or creation is really close to my heart. And when I started to think about what to name the album, because that's kind of the last thing for me, then
Mhm.
there's in the song "Moving Too Fast," there's the line of there's no rush to go where you've always been, gliding the paintbrush, coloring the wind. And I really felt
Yeah.
like this this was it for me, because I Watercolored Dreams is firstly about me going after my dreams and what I believe in. And this coloring the wind, or this watercolored, really feels like to me like fulfilling words that otherwise maybe would be empty. Or also in music, I feel like it can be either you can say all these words, but if they don't resonate with you, you don't kind of understand them, and you don't have to. But that's something that I really like to do, is to put meaning in my songs, but also that they would be also entertaining, that you don't have to listen to the meaning if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to, you know.
That's a lot of people actually, like, I get fans and, like, they listen to music and they actually misinterpret the lyrics or they get them
Yeah,
wrong, but they're listening to the music and they every fan has an impression of what you do, and it's like
yeah.
their own kind of vision. And like a lot of things, I like the idea of dreams or soundscapes or
Hmm.
like sound paintings. I've been very much
Yeah.
a big proponent of the idea of sound paintings, and the
Hmm.
watercolor dreams kind of follows that idea that,
Yeah.
like if you think about George Martin and the Beatles, he said like, what are you guys doing in Sergeant Pepper? Oh, that's a sound painting. That's
Hmm.
like taking like a Monet and doing it sonically. That's what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
right? And I've been a big proponent of that. Even Hendrix talked about it on Electric Ladyland. And I like the idea of I think every musician, if you start telling a story, people get that soundscape, they get the kind of cinematic point of view, they start
Hmm.
to see your song in terms of that story. And then everybody
Yeah.
has their own impression of the story,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. That's what I love about music, is like I can express how I feel in a moment or what I experience, and I want to give this to people. But what this means to them, is completely up to them, and that's the beauty of it for me. That
Yeah, yeah,
if I can say one thing and it means something completely else to you, but it means something to you, that's already
yeah.
a big
That's the
win for
point.
me. I don't know.
Well, that's how you
Yeah,
kind of get this universal key. I mean, I think everybody when they get the
yes,
when you see people move into your song, that's kind of like the universal key or the beat. And then
yeah,
what people take internally in their mind's eye, that's like personal. But then you can see the
yeah,
public, like if you're at a concert and the people are like all kind of in unison, clapping or moving or grooving to it, then you know you've actually tapped into something. And it's
yeah,
universal that everybody feels that beat. They feel the movement,
yes,
but then it's
yeah,
personal about the thing. So it's cool about music is you can hit both of that. You can hit that kind of feeling where everybody just has a universal feeling. And then you have the
yeah,
private feelings also and impressions, which is really cool. Um,
yeah,
so that kind of goes into the idea of the watercolor dreams being like a
yeah,
soundscape or dreamscape.
yeah.
Um, so when
I
you're
had
working, yeah, go ahead.
I had a really interesting experience few weeks back where I live in Brussels right now, but I'm not the French speaker. And I
Hmm.
went to a poetry night that was
Um,
completely in French. And it
oh, that's
was very, very interesting experience because if you take away the language, all is left is emotion.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if the emotion is there, then
You
even
still
if
pick
the poem is really bad, I feel it. Like I
you can still
understand
feel
it.
it. Yeah, you can
Yes.
still feel it's like how somebody speaks you that emotion, even if you don't know the language. Like
Yeah, that's
I watch K-drama, and I'm watching the K-drama in Korean, and,
mhm.
I get the subtitles, but I like to listen to the Korean because I can hear the emotion in the actor's voice, and it's
Yeah,
like the combination with the subtitle, I might not know what they're saying in
yeah,
Korean, but I can still feel the way the actor does it. Like the
yeah,
emotion that the actor puts through their voice is still critical to me to hear. That's why I'd rather listen to it in Korean than try to convert it to English because then I'm gonna miss what he was
yeah,
actually doing, So I think I get what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
So one of the things I was gonna ask is like you worked at the farm studio and that's like what
Yes.
and so was that hard to do in COVID, or was it easier at the time you were working there?
That's also another really fun story because I think it was of course easier because I have like there was less queue, so I actually had a chance. But
Oh, to
the
get in there.
way Yeah, but the way that I worked for it, or that the deal that we made, was so that I went there in a few days, and then we recorded the vocals. And Jan was helping me. He's really nice, and I'm really thankful for him. And then after I went and I did some ceiling paintings for them for the venue.
Oh,
So
oh, yeah.
it
Oh,
was
you had like a barter deal. Barter.
yes,
You
exactly.
bartered?
We had art
That's
partnership.
cool.
so
I
so
think that's
yeah, it's
cool. I think more people should do that because a lot of artists are multi-talented. You might be a photographer, you might be an actor, you might be a painter,
yeah, yeah,
and being able to barter studio time or engineering time or access to an instrument like access to like a mellotron and I can't get to it unless you let me do X, then because you have the mellotron sitting over here. But if I do this for you, will you let me use the mellotron? you know.
yeah,
Um, so I mean it's just I think that's cool, dude. I'm glad that you actually did that. I think people should keep that in
yeah,
their head. That is an
yeah,
option. Like why not ask somebody? Like, could I actually
yeah.
barter something? You know, it's
Yeah, I
really
feel
good. Uh,
like as a beginner artist, you also don't have that much of money to put into all of these things, so you kind of need to also be
yeah,
creative. And I really feel so warm and thankful that I have had all these really nice and kind people around me, that they believe in me, that they let me do these things, that they come with me and help me out. And it's the best feeling ever because working with people with the project that you believe in is
mhm.
literally the best feeling ever.
Well, I think
I
that's
really
really also cool to point out. Like you have this, you're a singer songwriter, artist, but you still have a team of people that even when you're like not don't have a band, like people like, oh, you got a
yeah,
band like the Beatles or the Stones. Like if you're a single a solo artist, you still have a team. You still have your
yeah,
producer. You still have the people you collab with, other writers, recording engineers, people who helped you,
yeah,
mentors involved. So there's a lot of people in music. It's like a team. It's a team effort.
yeah,
There's a lot going on. You might have your name, Rara Blue, as the primary name there, but there's a lot of people behind what you were doing, right?
yeah, exactly. I feel like I, as an artist or producer, I am the generator or the person that starts stuff, but it isn't only of me. There's all of these talented and skilled and amazing people that actually make this happen and help me out and understand my vision and also want to work for it. So it's definitely not only me, because if it was only me, it wouldn't be what it is today. So I really
Yeah.
believe that all the engineers, the studio, the all the other visual people that have helped me out or wanted to work with me, and yeah, I'm really grateful. It's
So
amazing.
that kind of maybe comes to the cover of the album. Maybe you can talk about who
Yeah.
you worked with to create the visual for that.
Yeah. Also, this one was through internet. We met, and it's Tika. He's in Instagram, and he does AI art. And I was casually, I guess, scrolling somewhere, or somebody reposted, or I'm not sure how, but I ended up on his page, and I really felt his way of doing these images, because same way for me, I feel like I am in my music, I have this very deep meaning in a way, but also I have this bubbliness, and yeah, I don't know, like this is kind of what I try to express, and I felt this darkness in his imagery as well. And so, because I really like painting, we decided that we're gonna teach the AI based on the paintings and some images that I gave, and we came up with some visualizers and some images, and then I completely fell in love with this idea, because I with art, what I really like about it is that you can be the one that is describing what's on the image. And since AI isn't really like, okay, this is an apple, let's draw an apple, but it was combination of all these different things.
Hmm.
It kind of generates this image, and you, as a person, you want to see things in there. So you start to notice, is this a woman laying down? Is this a ball? Are these mountains? Is this a cave? Like, your mind starts to wander, and that's what I want to create with my music and my art, is
Yeah,
this
very
wonder.
it's a very beautiful cover, and it seems like impressionistic or kind of like it's like you're trying to like you're trying to like discern what it is because it's not exactly clear, and it's kind of like that leaves it
Yeah,
open to interpretation.
yes,
And then you kind of see the kind of like paint dripping like it's a watercolor dripping. It's like
yeah.
not. So I see a lot of cool things going on. There's tons of elements, and I could probably just talk like the whole thing about that. But if I
Yeah.
delve into all the details into it, like from an art perspective, there's a lot of detail there on that cover. I tell everybody to go to her Spotify, go to anywhere you can find the album. You look at that cover. That
Yeah.
makes me want to buy it on vinyl, so I could have
uh,
a bigger version of it. I don't know if you're gonna
Maybe
do it.
someday.
Yeah,
Let's
the cool thing about vinyl was that you could see a cover like that, like, a lot bigger,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Vinyls
I
are
love
really
I
cool
love
looking.
that about vinyl. I'm trying to work some stuff, my stuff catalog into that, but,
Yeah,
I think it's just fantastic when you have a project and you involve another artist, and
yeah,
you them to into your that must have felt really good to be able to
yeah,
have, to meet this artist kinda like you just kinda, ran into him because you're on the net. And
yeah,
you found them and it's like, wow, that's cool. That's a coincidence, but it's cool, like, thing to happen. But then I guess
Mhm.
the other question is like you have how did you come to meet Dutch rapper Joe Flock? If I said the name right.
We also met over internet. There's so many people
Hmm.
uh, in this project that I met through. For example, I went to co-writing camp, and then we worked with an engineer that finally ended up mixing like 7 songs of the album. We never met, but through FaceTiming and working together over online, we became like friends, and then decided to work on this project. And also like that's the way that you can kind of share your vision and your project and find these people that resonate with you is through working with them. So with Joe Flock, it was the same way. We didn't plan on making a song for the album, but we just wanted to make some music together, and so we I produced the beat at first, and I wasn't even sure that I am going to sing on it, but then he did his verses, and then I really felt like, maybe I should do a hook, and then I added another verse, and then it
It became
became of
something.
what it is,
Yeah.
and then I really like I liked this song a lot, and I felt like I put a lot of my real like emotion in there. It wasn't just songwriting for me, so I really felt like it fits with
Yeah,
the same
and that's the song
period.
all we know. That's the collab, right? That's the
Yes,
song. Yeah, so
yeah.
was that like at the beginning of the project, the middle of the project, or the end of the project? Did that come about?
And what do you mean, the
But
project?
the time, yeah, the timing of that song, was that song something that happened like while you were in the middle of the project or closer to the end of the project that you did that collab and then decided to include it in Watercolor Dreams?
And I think that after the verses were done, then I realized that I want to put it to the
Into the
album. But it wasn't at first that I even did the verses.
Okay.
First, it was only his vocals and the beat, and I was really focusing on the production and like wanted to make something with that. And the feeling of doing my own verses came a bit later for that. And I think that the first verse I even wrote like completely like later, like before sending it into the mix and master.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, you never know like when something's gonna happen because sometimes I have
yeah,
had things like at the last minute I get the song that becomes the
yeah,
single. Like I could have thought I knew the single and then I actually write it like
yeah,
really late in the project and like what I thought was gonna be the single suddenly becomes like the
yeah.
latest song I wrote. Like that's the one.
That's
You
the
know?
funny thing about making music is like you randomly you can feel like one certain thing very certainly, and in another moment you have completely other opinions and other ideas, and you
Yeah.
will completely change everything. So yeah, you never know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen with
until you're done, until you're at the final
yeah,
date where you can't change
yeah, until
anything.
it's out.
Like, I'm at the date where like, oh, I now I can't change anything. Like up to the last minute,
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
changing things. So
Yes.
one of the questions I'd like to ask every artist, and it's kind of probably hard, but what is your favorite song from this album and why?
I think I have a lot of favorites, but I think that Moving Too Fast is my favorite as well because, as I said, like the painting the picture, I feel like I'm rushing into things sometimes, and then it has consequences and all this type of stuff. So really, like learning
Yeah,
to
I like
take
the feel of it. That's my favorite too, because I like the rhythm of it. I like the
yeah,
sound of it. I like the dynamics. I like the
yeah,
kind of picture I get in my head. I found myself after listening to the project. I love everything, and
uh,
I like demons a lot too. But I kept on going back to listening to that. I really dig it, and it's something about it's like
yeah.
just like hitting my head and what I want. And you never know. I
Yeah,
don't know why. It's just I really like it. So
yeah.
I dig it. But
Also, I
so
really enjoy the first song because I felt like this kind of introduces the whole album, this ideology or this idea that I
yeah,
really want to put in there, and
yeah, the theme.
it's about like uh it starts with the words of the myths and legends that we said have been lost in memories, and I really feel like this kind of old way of thinking is going away from at least my generation, and people
Mhm,
are really starting to open their eyes and think what is actually the right things to do, and what do I really stand for, and what do I what like is doing things wrong okay just because it's been done like this for years, and these types of things are changing, and I really enjoy that. So that's
oh, yeah,
I,
yeah, I do love the way the album, if you think about it, like it's a the album's Watercolored Dreams, but then you've got like visions and
Mhm,
mind, and you're talking about thoughts, and you're talking about emotions and thoughts and visions, and it's like it feels like it's a complete project as an album. People do Spotify playlists, they do singles, but this album is structured like a classic like 70s album
mhm,
where it has a theme. You can feel the theme of it, and you can feel the
mhm,
interconnection between the songs. And it seems like it does. Maybe it's not a full like rock opera, but
mhm.
it's telling a story. And I always like that about albums, that you can actually, as an artist, I get to have a picture of what you're doing, like a short story or a novel or a movie.
Yeah, I really like that also about writing albums is that I feel like I get to tell a complete idea. It's like for me it's like a book or series is
Hmm.
different parts that connect into one story, and I also feel like this one emotion or one way of seeing something in a certain period of your life is also like can be very multidimensional in a way that you
Hmm.
can like see it through the eyes of love, you can see it through the eyes of pain, with hate, with pleasure, with struggle, anything. And so I really feel like that's why I want to create albums, although everyone does say that it's bad for marketing and no one listens to albums and whatever, but I feel like maybe they are right in a
I
sense
think
of
it's
algorithm.
starting to. I think it's starting to shift again. I've read that people are going back and listening to 1970s material, and
Yeah,
most of
but
that is albums. So people are kind of today. Yeah, they'll listen to the club banger, but they go
mhm,
back and they'll listen to a whole, like a full record. They'll listen to
yeah,
like Tapestry. They'll go listen to like a full Who album, like a rock opera like Tommy or
mhm,
Quadrophenia, and like or Pink Floyd. Like those artists, like you don't listen to Pink Floyd usually without listening to the whole album side. If you go
yeah,
back to like any of their stuff, you listen to the whole thing because it's like a story. And so
yeah.
people kind of want that. I noticed in hip hop, every time Kendrick Lamar comes out with something, it
Mhm,
kinda demands that you're gonna listen to the whole thing.
mhm,
Like, he creates projects or you don't just listen to one song, and the songs kinda bleed into each other, and they're telling
mhm.
stories. And so, hip hop seems to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Other musical genres are like, "Oh, you can't do that anymore." I'm like, "Well, rock used to do it, and now hip hop is doing it, so why can't electronic music do that? It could do that.
yeah,
What's the problem?"
yeah. I think that that's kind of the part of me doing what feels right to me is that even though maybe marketing wise it isn't the most reasonable, I do it because I want to tell the story. I do it because I love making this music, and I really hope that if there is even one person that finds something from it, it's amazing, so it isn't about the marketing. This
Yeah.
isn't my first concern, so that's why I keep making the albums.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
say everything in one song. It
Yeah,
will
yeah.
have
I
to
mean,
be rest.
I feel the same way. I mean, I just put out like a 2 hour album, which is people said, "What the
Yeah,
heck are you
yeah,
doing?" And then people are like, "Well, no one's gonna listen to 19 songs to go 2 hours." It's like, well, I have, I got a fan base. I got like 5,000 to do it the first week, so I say fine.
yeah,
But it's maybe that's as far as it goes. But the whole thing is, I think it's really fun. Like, I don't know if you're going to perform these, but when you have an artist and you have albums and you have albums that have themes. When you go to do a show, your show can have a theme. When you're performing, it can be like an experience. I mean, so do you have like ideas to actually perform this, like
yeah. I
in
actually I have already done it twice, this album,
okay, cool.
before releasing it. And I did it kind of like secretly last minute when I went to Estonia to visit. And I
Mhm.
took my synthesizer, I took a drum pad, and my brother lended me his MIDI. And then I prepared some clips in Ableton Live. And then I also played with the synthesizer and did some
Cool.
a bit more alternative version of this album, and
Awesome.
also went more into the emotion of the song rather than doing the complete structure 100% like it is in the album. And I really enjoyed doing it, and I am I was really happy to hear good words from people as well. I got really shy and I got really out of character because of it, but it was really nice to see that people appreciate what you're doing. So definitely I want to do this live more, yeah.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about. I think some people today can kind of get lost in Ableton or Pro Tools,
Mhm.
and they when they go live, they'll do the exact thing they did on record.
Mhm.
And I'm a big proponent because I'm a synth head and I've got all my
Mhm.
toys behind me. But
Yeah.
I love to go out and I can play my
Yeah.
song exactly the way I wrote it. But most of
Mhm.
the time when I go play, I will totally deconstruct it just because it's
Yeah.
more fun for me to go and do it different because
Yeah.
it's like I could just do it the same. It's boring. It's like I'd rather go and try a different way,
Yeah.
and see and kind of vibe off the crowd and pick up the energy and like go a different direction. And it's like the jazz
Mhm.
musician in me that wants to do it that way and do it in a
Mhm.
fusion way. But I think I've seen like a lot of EDM and trance artists and electronic music artists. They'll go and they'll be on their modular synths and they just go wherever way they want to go. And what's
Yeah.
wrong with that? I think it's cool.
Yeah, I also really think that it's good to, like, why I want to do these things that in that way is because first of all, it's more fun for me, and second of all, I feel like um, when you come to see a live show, you want to kind of experience something that is a bit different. Maybe you want to think like, what is this girl doing there? Like, what is she like turning now? Why is she touching these lighty
Mhm.
things? What are these doing? To
Yeah,
make
yeah.
you like wonder in a different way. Although I don't think that it's completely bad to just go around and sing the original versions, but I just haven't gotten really to it. I think
Yeah.
that this was the way I kind of developed the live show, and I really enjoyed performing it that way. And yeah, I
What
think it's
it, well, I think it's interesting. Like when I first started when I was 17, right? I was in like cover bands. And so like
yeah,
I was just playing the song the way it was, right?
yeah,
And I'm like, I got bored. And I was like, well, I
yeah,
really don't want to do that. And I could do it and I could do it pretty good, but I was like, I don't want to get stuck being a wedding singer. I don't want to be
yeah,
stuck in the bar. I want to
yeah,
write, right? And then part of writing was like, yeah, I can play it like I can get people to if they want to hear my hit, I go to New York and play it the way they want. But
yeah,
I think a part of playing live, the reason why people went to see like Pearl Jam night after night in the
yeah,
US, they have a tendency that band will play like 3 days, and all the fans will show up at all 3 days. And why?
hmm,
Because Eddie Vedder every night changes the way he does the song. He would
yeah,
actually change it, and people would go and see it because he was changing it. So he got his fans to see him 3 days in a row because
yeah,
he's changing it that much that make it worthwhile going seeing it because he's doing it different every night. And
yeah,
that's what old school rockers used to do. I mean, guys like Pearl Jam do that, Wilco does that, but not everybody does that anymore. but it's a valid technique because you can get a really good fan base that will appreciate you, and then you'll start getting name. People will recognize that. Wow, if I go see
Mhm.
you any night I see you, you're actually going to be a little bit different, and that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
They can drive your audience. It's
Yeah,
like
I
an audience.
actually never thought about it that way, but it's a good point.
Yeah, you can actually, like the Grateful Dead audience, they used to follow the Dead everywhere, because
Mhm.
every time they played, they would just play these jams, and people are like, well, every time that Jerry Garcia is playing, he's playing something different, and
Mhm.
people liked it. It's not a bad thing. So you can turn something that somebody said, oh, they're not playing it the same. You're like, yeah, the certain
Yeah,
fans won't like it. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
certain fan that won't like it, but it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
But so I also like, I think we were talking about albums, and you like the album format because you get to tell a story. But do you have to kind of operate with singles and playlisting in any degree, like to what you're doing for this project? Or did you have to like? I know you had the Sunbeamz video, so does that mean that
Mhm.
was the single?
Yeah, at first I put out Sunbeamz and Broad Minds because as singles, although I knew that they were going to be on the album, but that's the thing. I felt like I wanted to introduce the ideas of this whole project in a smaller bite form before I actually put the whole thing out.
Hmm.
And the music videos also, they just like happened to come as this refreshing moment in between this all other audio work, and could think more like how could we visualize these smaller ideas in this bigger concept. And yeah, but this might not be the last thing from this album.
Oh, you might put
So
out some more. You might put out more singles,
not singles, but I'm
videos.
thinking video. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So
video is a really good thing. I mean, I think video is how somebody like me in the U.S. and New
mhm,
Hampshire can like find out about you. Actually see you.
yeah.
It's a really good mechanism to get. That's why I went
Hmm.
to video podcast instead of audio.
Yeah.
The video podcast actually reaches a bigger audience.
Yeah.
And I understand why musicians like why we do video. It's like, but why do you
Yeah.
do video? I do video because you can reach more people.
Yeah. But
um,
also, I feel like video is quite controversial topic. Okay, I can't spell it. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So uh, it's because I made like now two music videos for Broad Minds and Sunbeamz, and neither of us actually has me inside of it. And the reason is that I feel like the story can shine more when I don't.
When you're not
Uh,
there, yeah,
yeah, in a way, yeah, because I felt like I wanted to introduce the album in a way that in these first two bites you think more of the idea or the
the story.
concept or
Yeah, you're looking
the
at the
yes,
story.
for the
Yeah,
storyline. And then now I gave this album out, and now the next one might even have me inside for the first time.
well, I think it's a cool technique because I kind of grew up in the age of the when MTV first showed up. And when MTV first showed up, all the bands were just you could just see the band. Like the video,
Yeah.
they would just see Duran Duran, but then Duran Duran started making these films, and then the films actually had stories, and they didn't necessarily show them. They had like characters, and then
Mhm.
other directors actually started having like don't even have the band at all. Just have some concept that's not even anything like the song. You would be like, that doesn't
Yeah.
even match the song lyrics, but it was something. It was like a
Yeah.
director would see the song and say, "Well, I'm going to interpret it this way." And I
Yeah.
kind of loved that early stage of MTV. You had a lot of interesting videos when they
Yeah.
started really treating it like an art, and
Yeah.
and it was like stuff going in different directions than what you expected. So the video was totally different than if you sat and listened to the record on your headphones, and then you went and
Mhm.
watched the video and like, wow, I didn't really see that song that way. It
Yeah.
was like totally different, and I think it gave you a different way to enjoy the music. You could
Yeah.
you could enjoy it in multiple media, you know?
Yeah, I think that that's the fun of kind of this abstract art, or this, like when the message isn't like fully served in their hand, so you can interpret in different ways, even in different periods of your life.
Yeah.
Like you listen to one song in a certain period, and then you listen to it 3 years later, and the meaning for it may have completely shifted, or you understand it differently, or same with videos. I feel like it's
Yeah, I think,
really,
like, just being able to, to have, like, very artistic points of view that might not be obvious, the things like I've always been very eclectic in my taste. I loved, when Andy Warhol was working with the Velvet Underground, and I actually saw some of the film, and they would do these happenings in New York at the thing. Andy Warhol had this thing called the Factory, and at the factory, he had musicians, painters, models, actors, and then he would have these big screens up, and he would be showing like art films, and then have the Velvet Underground, like Lou Reed and the Velvets, would be playing like a punk rock kind of Velvet Underground song, while this video was behind them, and there's
mhm.
balloons floating, and there's actors and there's models, and they're all kind of doing all this kind of just a happening. Just it's like just art. They
Yeah,
were just doing this art, and it was really, I think that was happening in San Francisco too, but New York and San Francisco had these kind of happening scenes. Like Frank Zappa was known for doing the same thing with the Mothers of Invention. They would go and do shows like that, and I've always been really interested in the kind of divergence of like painting, acting, modeling, and
mhm.
music. And it seems like you're in the same thing. Like the fact that you weren't in the video. You had like an actor in the video doing the
Yeah,
video, and then you have like painting, like
yeah,
the AI painting. You're kind of mixing
mhm.
multiple genres.
Yeah. I really feel like it's for me. It's not about me presenting myself, but they're more like sharing the way I think, or
Hmm.
sharing a message that I want people to hear. And that's how I think. That's how I also feel like I should have like some elements in my videos, or the the things that I wear, or the things that I do. I feel like I always try to think it through in a way of, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to the listener? And does it have to mean anything? So
Hmm.
I think a lot about these things.
Well, you have a really beautiful stagecraft, like the way you present yourself, like the clothes you're wearing now, the way the background
Yeah,
you have right now. Like
yeah,
like some people, like I've interviewed like artists, and they'll just come out with their blue jeans and a t-shirt, and
yeah,
they just feel that they don't need to
yeah,
put on any kind of stagecraft. And I've always
yeah,
been like, a big fan of like the Lady Gagas and the Bowies and
yes,
Princes, because they felt like, if I'm gonna go on stage, I'm gonna be like an actor. And every time you saw
yeah,
Prince, he had this different version of himself, from like the Purple Rain, the kid, to the way he looked in Parade with like the black bikini kind of weird thing that he would wear in like the top with the bare midriff and the
mhm,
black hat. He would have different looks for every album. He'd actually even
yeah,
call it different characters. Like in like Purple Rain, he called it the kid, right? And
yeah,
then when he was in like in Parade, he called himself Christopher Tracy. He created a whole different name. He just created this whole different thing, and he's like, "I'm Christopher Tracy for this whole record."
yeah,
Okay, like, well, who is Christopher Tracy? Well, he's this character, and it's like, I think this is cool to actually develop your project in a bigger way. Like to actually
yeah,
include the theater. Like, what are
yeah.
your thoughts? Like, as a musician, do you feel like you bring like theatrical elements when you perform?
I try to. That's the thing. I feel like with art, you want to bring as much meaning as possible. I don't think that every artist feels the need for it, but I really want to express myself, not only with my music but with the videos, with my clothes, with my makeup. I really feel like I want to bring the meaning, and I want to make people question, and I want to make people ask questions from themselves. And so I really find it important, and I feel like this ideology, or these ideas that my work carries, it kind of has to reflect in the way I am as well, not only in the
Mhm.
songs.
Yeah, it's almost like I always feel like, people, if they ever see me, I come out with like a mask. I have a
Yeah,
LED mask and I have a hoodie, and I'm Phantom Electric Ghost.
yeah,
I'm the ghost. That's my idea. Is
yeah,
I'm actually a ghost, right? So I go out and I am that ghost when I'm on stage, and it's not
mhm,
exactly me. It's this other me. That's
yeah,
like, a phantom. And
yeah,
and the idea of doing that is like you bring that kind of stagecraft, because I'm doing a show and there's theatrics to that. There's like there's an idea behind it. But because you want to be able to, I want to be able to do male and female voices like a phantom, and you can't tell who I am. That's my
yeah,
idea. And I was able to kind of carry it off without and say, hey, a ghost can be female or male. So when I go
yeah,
on stage, I'm almost like a phantom, and sometimes you hear a female voice, sometimes you hear a male voice, you hear different voices coming from this one
yeah,
phantom character. And and I didn't know how to do it originally. I said, well, am I going to dress up in an androgynous way, or am I just going to go out? And I came up with the idea of being a ghost, because a ghost,
yeah,
you can't tell. And I said, well, that will work better, and it worked better for what I was trying to do, and I've been able to
yeah,
stick with it, you know. But
yeah,
it was just an idea I had, and if I wanted to present myself, I could have just come out just like me, but
yeah.
I didn't really want to do it that way, you know.
Yeah, I really think that it takes time to develop, to come out with these ideas of what to want to present, because that's exactly what it is. You're representing some sort of thing that you want to show people. So it's the same way that sometimes I meet people through music, and then they ask me, should I call you with your real name, or should I call you Rara? And then I'm like, okay, but which are you referring to? Are you talking to me as an artist, as this project, or are you talking to me as a person? So it's I don't feel like they are completely like separate,
Separate,
but I
yeah.
feel like it is still different, because Rara Blue for me is kind of like a brand that I represent. Like it
Yeah.
is the this whole my whole music, my artistry in a way is
Just your whole
connected to
aesthetic.
Rara Blue, but it doesn't mean that I can't do any other type of projects, or things that don't necessarily maybe fit with Rara
Or
Blue.
b
But
or
I really,
maybe you create another version of yourself, because that's what Bowie used
yeah,
to do, he one day
yeah,
he's Ziggy, and then he's the Thin White Duke, and then he's Aladdin
yeah,
Sane. So, like, each project, he started becoming other things, and, like, once you create, like, a persona, like, once you have Rara Blue now, but, what's
mhm,
like, who's to say 5 years from now, you decide,
yeah,
"Well, I'm gonna create another one." And
yeah,
I could always go back to Rara Blue, or I can be
yeah.
this new person. And it's really up to us as the artist. We can decide, which way we want to go with it.
I think that it also really develops over time, because for me, Rara Blue started off as two, Rara Blue. So it was duality in human nature. So used in my artistry as well. I photoshopped myself as two people.
Hmm.
I used a lot of like symbols with twos and all these types of stuff. It's sadly a lot of it is gone, because my old Instagram got deleted exactly
Oh yeah,
before the last interview.
yeah, I
But
remember that.
now it's back, and I haven't really focused that much on it anymore. But I wonder if maybe someday, if I have the possibility, maybe I'll bring that back again, because I really like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's a
And
cool idea. I like duality. I always
yeah,
liked the
exactly.
idea. That I used to see, like, Freddie Mercury's and the Princes of the world. And why was the one time Prince had this like black and white outfit. Half it was black, half it was white. And
Hmm.
he was a Gemini. And he continually in his music, he would have these like dual things because
Yeah.
he would like double down on being a Gemini. And he would
Hmm.
go and like, well, I'm gonna do this male female thing. It's like half and half, and I'm half
Hmm.
and half white, black and white. And I'm gonna do
Yeah.
these very, very Gemini duality things. Like one guy
Yeah.
is really dark and this other one's light. And he would have
Yeah.
like a black album. And then he had
Hmm.
like Love Sexy. Well, they both came out the same year. Love Sexy was like this love religion album, and Black Album was like a sex album. And they
Hmm.
both came out at the same time, and he said was the flip sides of the same coin. He said
Yeah.
two different things. He'd have duality throughout his whole career, and I was very much paying attention to it because I was like, he was a great artist. And I was like, that's a cool idea to really
Hmm.
double down on that
Hmm.
and really try to see how far you can go with it artistically. You know, I
Hmm.
think anybody who has something out there that's interesting, I like to look at it. And I
Yeah.
love the way you use art and the way you use film now and
Hmm.
your video technique of not putting yourself in it. And a lot of artists, I don't know if they would have the ability to not have the ego to put themselves in their own work. You know, that takes a lot. A guts to not put yourself in it because people don't know how people are going to see me. It's like, what
Hmm.
doesn't matter because like this is still Rara Blue. That's your work.
Yeah.
You
I
didn't
don't
choose to
think
be in it. You that's cool.
I don't think that it's necessarily bad, and I will be in my video for sure, but I don't think that it's needed every time. And
Yeah, yeah,
I think that it's also very much like conscious choice of where do you want to direct the audience like attention, and what do you want them to see at the first plane, and what do you want them to notice after, what do you want to give them easy, what do you want them to think about. So it's kind of all uh, of your decision. And that's also why I really like to create the albums, is to give a lot of different viewpoints for the perspective. So as this duality thing is very like hot and cold, then giving a perspective, it can be not completely in one end of the spectrum, it can be anywhere.
yeah.
But
You
it's
got shades of gray. Like it's
yeah.
great to be. I think the problem with the single market is like that might that song might not really represent your core sound.
Mhm.
You might have a single and it's really hidden, but it doesn't give people the full depth of the artist that you are. Right. And I
Mhm.
love the album and the EP because then you can actually see the full breadth of who our
Mhm.
artist is, and then I actually it's like if you only just read the synopsis, you have no
Mhm.
idea what the whole book is, right? You got like a
Yeah.
cliff note, but I want a cliff note for my artist. I want to know the whole artist. you
Yeah.
know.
But I really feel like it's still kind of a snapshot of the period of my life,
Mhm.
because I find myself like thinking over some thoughts and some patterns in the society and these types of things, but at the same time, few years later I might see it completely differently, and as I mature also my things might change. So this is really like a snapshot of my past year and the
Yeah. Yeah, it
times
represents like
I
a
had
period.
before and how I have developed. Yeah.
Well, it's really great having you here again, Robert Billy, that we've had you on the show.
Yes. Thank you.
And this is awesome to have this new album shown here. We encourage everybody go to the hyperfollow.com/Rara Blue. That link will be clickable when this gets published. We will be on Spotify video podcast and Apple. We'll have permanent links everywhere. This was on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube Live. And we'll have the permanent links for you, and we're very excited to have you here. We are always putting out an open invitation. We're planning on doing another PEG Bedroom Producer Festival. If you ever have the capacity in that festival, we have any podcast guest actually play a live set like 20, 30 minutes, and they just do it
Yeah.
on this platform and they do it from wherever they are. So however they can do it, if they can do like an unplugged, if they could do like a plugged in, It's something we try to set up. We're going to try to set up this year for December. We're not sure if that's going to work with people. It might get shifted till like February, but we're going
Yeah.
to see where people are and then figure out where we should schedule it. So open invitation if you want to do it.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
Well, thank you very much, Rara, for being on here. And like I do encourage everybody go to everywhere her music is. It's on all the platforms. You know, actually play it, playlist it, download it, favorite it, subscribe to her channels, subscribe to everywhere, and like everywhere you can. That's how we get noted as an artist. That's how we get recognition. That's how things get counted. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for being on the program.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for everybody that listened. And I'm really grateful to everybody that listens to my music and helps to share it. And yeah, and everybody that was a part of this. I love you so much, and thank you. And I'm really excited for what's next, and to see you again. Talk to you
Yeah,
again.
definitely. We'll have you on again anytime you want to talk about anything you're working on. Your open invitation to come on the show. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you.